Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Kickin' Show. I'm your host, Jerry Jordan. This is the official podcast of Kicking the Tires. We've got Seth Eggert, Justin Schuler, Zach Cantanzaretti, and Christian Coley on the show tonight. And word has it, we may have a special guest. You know, I'm used to pulling rabbits out of my hat, so we'll see what happens. But tell you what, earlier this week, I got surprised by something when I was on a Wyndham Rewards call for Wyndham Rewards members. It was a sponsored deal for Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman showed for the first time the Daytona 2020 car, the one that like he wrecked and flipped, and yeah, that one. So I didn't know that he had the car in his collection. Someone pointed it out. I found out while I was doing the story and working on it. So I credited, Ryan McGee for doing it with ESPN, but he had never shown it to anybody. Guys, how cool is that to have that car? And when you read about why Ryan wanted it in his collection, how cool is that? You know, to have that piece of history, sitting in your garage.
Super cool. I read that article and I was always wondering what they did with the car. I mean, I'm sure they chopped that thing down to focus on the parts and pieces that saved his life, of course. But afterwards, what happened to it and the fact that he's hanging on to it and reading those quotes that you got from him from that event. I mean, just incredible. Like it was shaking. I mean, I was one of the ones, I know Christian and Jerry were there. Seth, I believe as well. We all were there on pit road that night and watched that wreck. I saw it through my camera lens, and it was a horrible night. It led into an incredible week, because he was released from the hospital, I think 2 days later. But it's something that we'll never forget. And thankfully, I guess it's something that he does forget. He wasn't able to remember anything from that wreck or the last lap or even the whole race. He remembers eating shrimp at his parents' house, I think, earlier that evening. But the fact that he hangs on to it and just his choice of words on how he commemorates that part of his life, even though he doesn't remember it, it's something that he holds very sacred for a very long time. And he's right. Nobody gets to hang on to a piece of their life, something that saved their life, but it almost killed them at the same time. And he gets to have it right there in his garage every day. So, I mean, he has that, and he has that photo of him and his daughters leaving the hospital that day. So it's two things that he'll cherish forever. And that was cool to see.
Yeah, I think that picture, like you mentioned with his daughters, that was like very wholesome for all of the NASCAR community. And the other part too, you mentioned how the car, how he has it, and he just kind of commemorates that. It's a lot like Junior's graveyard, right, where he has all these different cars, and every car has a story. Obviously, this one is going to always hit much harder, much deeper for Newman, but yeah, you usually see people just no big deal. But Newman's like, you know what? No, this is a landmark. This is a huge story. So to see that is pretty cool. And obviously, when we all saw him walk out of that hospital, and Chrissy put that up on Twitter, that was you could hear that sigh of relief across the entire world.
I almost am a little surprised that Junior doesn't have a part of his car himself for his car graveyard, but to go back to having something that is so critical, so crucial in Newman's life. For others, I guess Dale Jr. almost does a little bit of a service indirectly by collecting the destroyed cars that he has, because I want to say he has Brad Keselowski's hard crash from Fontana, Will Powers, the cockpit from the Las Vegas wreck, just to name a few. And they could actually, I'm sure Junior would let them, if they asked, to come and visit and, take in a car that saved their life.
Michael McDowell's too, from Texas.
Yeah, Michael McDowell's, and I was there that day that Michael McDowell flipped and barrel rolled down through turn 2 at Texas Motor Speedway. The one thing that I thought was interesting from that event with Wyndham Rewards was that it was a sponsor deal, and Matt Yoakum was hosting it, and they had all these people on that are hotel chain, members, but he'd never shown that car publicly like that before. No one had ever seen it. I saw the car. I just, two things happened in that moment. I could have paused it. I have a quick button on my screen, and I could have screenshotted it. Okay. That's set up, it would be instantaneous. And then at the same time, I'm like, he showed it on this video, but I don't, it's not something he wants everyone to be gawking at. And I think my friendship with Newman would be hurt by doing that. And that would be kind of disrespectful to him. But man, it was powerful seeing that car, because I have not seen the car since it was at Daytona. And you know, my photos, your photos, Zach, we caught that car in midair and then sliding past us on the track. So it was, I knew then, whatever you're doing, stop, write this story and get it out there, because his comments were so you know, deep as far as, you know, why he kept it and what it meant to him, and him showing it to you know, a few friends of his. So
kind of rewinding on that one, I was also, like Zach said, I was also there. And I remember I was walking back from turns 3 and 4 on the last few laps before that last caution came out. And I remember sitting in the media center or the photo room that night, and I opened my computer, put the photo on there, and the photo popped up, and I just shut my computer. I didn't touch the photos for 3 days. Didn't want to.
Well, let me explain something to the fans that are out there that's, you know, that may not understand where you're coming from. It's not that we want the wreck. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. We don't want to see crash. I'd love to see them go to the end and not wreck, but it's inevitable almost with what goes on with plate racing and restrictor, you know, whatever, tapered spacer racing and super speedway racing in general. We know that there's going to be a wreck. And as photographers and reporters, our job is to chronicle that. So it's not that we're these macabre bastards that want to see someone hurt. We definitely don't want anybody hurt, no. But we know that it's inevitable. And those are what the fans eventually, once everything settles, once the dust, you know, filters out, they want to see what happened, how it happened. And you know, I have a series of 60 photos within a very short time span that is almost like a movie, but it's still framed of what exactly happened there. And Zach has just a little bit different angle, and I'm sure, Christian, you do too, just like, you know, some of the other photographers that we work with every week at the track. So all of those photos go together, and then NASCAR looks at that and they take that data and they try to figure out how to make it not happen again. Because again, it's super speedway racing, it's taper spacer racing, it's restrictor plate racing, whatever you want to call it. We know that there is a 99% chance that we're going to have a big one on the last lap.
And we saw it this year at Daytona for sure with Brad Keselowski. I mean, you know, that was one of the cool things is last week while we were in Charlotte, me and Heather were in Charlotte, we had the opportunity to go to Rick Ware's team for the 52 team with Josh Bilicki. And I asked one of the members that I'm friends with in Rick Ware's group to just see what had been added since the Newman accident. And there's literally a new bar on the chassis that is meant to protect the driver from keeping him from getting crushed like Ryan Newman almost did. And I thought that was really humbling just to see what came out of that accident. And, you know, we know it's going to happen again. It more than likely happened on Sunday in the Cup race at Talladega. It's something we know is going to happen. So
obviously going into Talladega this weekend, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But, you know, one of the things about Talladega, Zach, you have a little bit of information. Jennifer Jo Cobb was on the list to be a driver there. I don't know if she made the entry list, but she definitely made the betting list in Las Vegas because I just saw it. And now she's not going to be cleared for Talladega.
Yeah, so NASCAR deemed her ineligible for her Cup Series debut at Talladega. Obviously, no Cup Series experience, and there's no practice or qualifying for her to get a warm-up. So when it comes to these super speedways, NASCAR kind of puts those into their own separate box. You can make your debut. I mean, we saw loads of debuts at the Bristol Dirt Race because it's just a different type of track, and we see them on short tracks all the time. Even at a track like Pocono last year with James Davison, who had never touched a Cup car. Those type of tracks are in a different position, but when it comes to Daytona and Talladega, Jennifer Jo Cobb, though she was on, I don't know if she officially made the entry list, but yeah, Rick Ware Racing announced she was going to be in the 15. Then NASCAR kind of looked into it and they pulled her from eligibility. And this is a really weird one, at least for me. just looking at her experience. I mean, she has more truck starts than Mike Skinner or Todd Bodine or Johnny Benson and these guys. I mean, I know she never touched a Cup car, but when it comes to how they look at the truck series and how they look at the Xfinity series, that's really what makes the big difference. And that's why Harrison Burton is going to be in the 96 this weekend, because he's been in Xfinity for the last couple years. But the whole eligibility thing has been strange for me. I mean, you can look at what Derek Cope did this year in Daytona. He hadn't touched any NASCAR vehicle since 2018. Mark Thompson, you can go back. I mean, he hadn't touched a Cup car in 25 years, but he ran an Xfinity race the year before, so he was in. Matt Crafton ran the Daytona 500 in 2015, and he only had one Xfinity start the year before. So it's a punch in the gut for Jennifer. I mean, to say that she's not eligible, or to say that she's not qualified for a Cup car, I think that it fits weird because of her experience in the National Series.
If I may, apparently NASCAR's gotten stricter with the eligibility and approval process. And apparently Jennifer was approved for Cup racing about 2 to 3 years ago. But because she didn't run a race in the Cup Series within a year of that approval, it lapsed, and she hadn't applied to be reapproved.
I want to point something out here. And this doesn't have anything to do with NASCAR. This is Vegas odds right here. Okay. And if I hold my phone up to the screen, it'll show it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but
you can tell it's completely white.
Do what?
Okay. It's completely white.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. What it says, Jennifer Jo Cobb, 250 to 1 odds to win the race. Timmy Hill, 250 to 1 odds to win the race. Cody Ware, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. Joey Gase, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. And Josh Bilicki, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. To me, there are 4 other drivers who have worse odds or as worse odds as Jennifer Jo Cobb from a Vegas standpoint. So they have more faith in her to win the race than they do Josh Bilicki. Okay. Now, Josh Bilicki's can be in the race. Joey Gase can be in the race.
Yeah.
I think this is a bad call.
Yeah, I agree. And I see what Seth is saying. I'm glad that they're kind of making it more strict to run into the Cup Series. But then again, as Shane Gallo,
our job is to document that. But at the end of the day, we want to see somebody get a good, solid win. And we've seen that most of the races this year, even the wreck at Daytona, was a storybook win. Those guys were pushing and battling. So for Michael McDowell to be in the right place, he almost got wrecked too. So for him to be in the right place at the right time, that just happens that way. So obviously going into Talladega this weekend, we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But one of the things about Talladega, Zach, you have a little bit of information. Jennifer Jo Cobb was on the list to be a driver there. I don't know if she made the entry list, but she definitely made the betting list in Las Vegas because I just saw it. And now she's not going to be cleared for Talladega.
Yeah, so NASCAR deemed her ineligible for her Cup Series debut at Talladega. Obviously, no Cup Series experience, and there's no practice or qualifying for her to get a warm-up. So when it comes to these super speedways, NASCAR kind of puts those into their own separate box. You can make your debut. I mean, we saw loads of debuts at the Bristol Dirt Race because it's just a different type of track, and we see them on short tracks all the time. Even at a track like Pocono last year with James Davison, who had never touched a Cup car. Those type of tracks are in a different position, but when it comes to Daytona and Talladega, Jennifer Jo Cobb, though she was on, I don't know if she officially made the entry list, but yeah, Whipware Racing announced she was going to be in the 15. Then NASCAR kind of looked into it and they pulled her from eligibility. And this is a really weird one, at least for me. Just looking at her experience. I mean, she has more truck starts than Mike Skinner or Todd Bodine or Johnny Benson and these guys. I mean, I know she never touched a Cup car, but when it comes to how they look at the truck series and how they look at the Xfinity series, that's really what makes the big difference. And that's why Harrison Burton is going to be in the 96 this weekend because he's been in Xfinity for the last couple of years. But the whole eligibility thing has been strange for me. I mean, you can look at what Derek Cope did this year in Daytona. He hadn't touched any NASCAR vehicle since 2018. Mark Thompson, you can go back. I mean, he hadn't touched a Cup car in 25 years, but he ran an Xfinity race the year before, so he was in. Matt Crafton ran the Daytona 500 in 2015, and he only had one Xfinity start the year before. So it's a punch in the gut for Jennifer. I mean, to say that she's not eligible, or to say that she's not qualified for a Cup car, I think that it fits weird because of her experience in the National Series.
If I may, apparently NASCAR's gotten stricter with the eligibility and approval process. And apparently Jennifer was approved for Cup racing about 2 to 3 years ago. But because she didn't run a race in the Cup Series within a year of that approval, it lapsed. And she hadn't applied to be reapproved.
I want to point something out here. And this doesn't have anything to do with NASCAR. This is Vegas odds right here. Okay. And if I hold my phone up to the screen, it'll show it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but
you can tell it's trying to darken.
Do what?
Okay. It's completely white.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. What it says, Jennifer Jo Cobb, 250 to 1 odds to win the race. Timmy Hill, 250 to 1 odds to win the race. Cody Ware, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. Joey Gase, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. And Josh Bilicki, 300 to 1 odds to win the race. To me, there are 4 other drivers who have worse odds or as worse odds as Jennifer Jo Cobb from a Vegas standpoint. So they have more faith in her to win the race than they do Josh Bilicki. Okay. Now, Josh Bilicki's can be in the race. Joey Gase can be in the race.
Yeah.
I think this is a bad call.
Yeah, I agree. And I see what Seth is saying. I'm glad that they're kind of making it more strict to run into the Cup Series. But then again, as Shane Golobic, made his Cup Series debut, nothing on him. Obviously, Blake Jones kind of started this debate a few years ago. He ran a Cup car at Talladega, and he only had 8 national NASCAR starts. Trucks Xfinity Cup, only 8 races.
But I think the one thing on Blake Jones, kind of to follow that, Blake Jones did have 1 ARCA win at Talladega in 2012, I believe it was. So, I don't know. I think they kind of have to look back at what the success rate at that track has been. And that's what doesn't make sense with Jennifer Jo Cobb. She's had tons of starts at Talladega. She even led laps last year.
Yeah, 16 laps last year.
I don't understand NASCAR's thought process on, hey, this guy, she's not eligible. And, we're going to speak about it later in the race, but I really think it came at a bad time too, especially after what she did last week at Richmond, getting herself parked. That kind of put the spotlight on NASCAR going, oh, then all the fans are going, oh, you parked her because of what she did the previous week. Well, then you can kind of start looking at other drivers that have tried to retaliate, and that's not a bad precedent to sit.
And NASCAR has said that it had nothing to do with what happened at Richmond.
It's just the timing.
I believe the statistic they referenced was that she has only finished on the lead lap 5% of the time in the Truck Series.
Okay. Wait a second.
That's not the driver.
Stop right here. Stop.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hold on. She's running. Look, as much as I love Rick and Lisa Ware, okay, she's running a Rick Ware car. She's not going to win the race. She's not going to finish the race. Okay, you can't use a 5% stat for that. She's going to end up most likely parking it early because she's going to have a mechanical issue or whatever. God, I wish she would get out there and run up front and lead a lap. That would be great. But most likely that team is just hanging on by a thread. And it's going to be really hard for her to get up there and win a race at Talladega. She's going to run around mostly in the back of the pack and work that because she's knows that she's got to, show people what she is capable of and not screw things up, because it could really mess her up down the road. She doesn't want to wreck one of Rick's cars either. So I think throwing out she's only finished on 5% of the lead, I think that's a bad statement. And I don't usually get critical of NASCAR on some of this stuff, but man, I mean, in a time when we're trying to, enhance the sport, let her start the race.
I mean, she was going to run, and there's always that second pack of cars that have Rick Ware cars. Normally, Quinn Hoff, you were going to have that. And when they first made that announcement, that's exactly where I thought she would sit. And that's where, when they said that, she's not eligible, it really didn't make any sense to me, because she wouldn't have been in the way. There's really no honest way she would have been in the way. And, being in a little pack with the other drivers is like, I don't know, the minimal, I guess the danger level is kind of minimal, just because of the fact that it's a small pack on its own that would just ride up on the track when the pack goes by and ride back down. But I don't know. I agree with Jerry. It was a bad call.
Yeah, it just looks weird when you have one of the most experienced Truck Series drivers of all time deemed not qualified for the Cup Series. I think it has to be more clear cut on who's qualified and who's not. And I think she should be well ahead of some of these other guys who have been in Cup cars lately.
Well, now that I'll probably get, chastised by NASCAR for calling them out, let's move on. And
I'm with you, Jerry. We're all with you.
We're all in trouble together.
Kicking the Tires gets de-chartered from NASCAR Media Access.
De-chartered.
Christian, talk a little bit before we get into Seth's iRacing stuff. Christian, just recap what's happening in ARCA stuff real quick.
This weekend ARCA returns to action at the Talladega Superspeedway. It's the first time we've raced since Phoenix, almost a month ago, 2 months ago. It was in February. Or was it March? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been that long. But this weekend we go to Talladega. It's our final Superspeedway race of the year, and we've got a pretty stout lineup of cars and drivers that's entered this weekend. But I think that it's looking like it might be a very good race. Just that rain, that R word is starting to come up, and so we're kind of concerned that we're going to see 1,000 miles of racing on Sunday, because of the fact that everything could be pushed to Sunday. But we got the General Tire 200. We've got Ty Gibbs will start on the pole for Saturday's race. He's the current second place runner, but the first place guy is making a little bit of news, and I think we can say it here. And we announced earlier this week that Corey Heim, our current points leader, will be making his NASCAR Camping World Truck Series debut at Darlington with KBM. So that's a very big news. And Jerry, I think you have a little bit of content, or a little bit of some words from the wonderful Kyle Busch to talk about Corey Heim.
Yeah, I went out to Circuit of the Americas earlier this week, and we're going to run to the tape real quick and hear what Kyle's response was when I asked him about putting Corey in the truck. Real quick, Corey Heim's going to be in your 51 truck for Darlington, I understand. Can you just talk about your decision to put him in that truck, and is he one of your young guns that you're bringing up through the ranks?
I wouldn't call them my young guns, but certainly Toyota is involved in that. I've watched Corey for the last couple of years in super late model competition, and he's been getting better, doing better, getting more up front, running up front, winning races and such. And so he got a chance to run in some ARCA stuff, and was able to be victorious in that. So that's been fun to watch, and all that's within the Toyota system. And so it's neat to see that growth, no different than an Eric Jones or a Christopher Bell or a William Byron or whatever. John Hunter missed out on all that, but now he's back, so he's getting a taste for it now.
It's good to be home.
Yeah, and so Corey's just another one that's on the list that could be a future star in our sport. Who knows? But John Hunter's doing a good job of keeping the equipment up front and giving it a good run for its money, and hopefully with Drew Dollar and Corey Heim and a couple of the others with Parker Chase ran really good at the Daytona Road Course before he ran into some trouble. So it's cool to see guys getting some good runs in, and I look forward to Corey being able to do the same thing.
As you can tell from Kyle, he's talking there about Corey Heim and what his thoughts are on this young upcoming driver. Look, I flat out asked him, and you heard him answer, if this was one of his young guns coming up through the ranks. And this is a Toyota effort. So Toyota definitely putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to these up and coming drivers and trying to build a farm team as these older Toyota drivers, tend to retire at some point. Maybe, I don't know. Denny Hamlin and Kyle don't seem like they're going to retire anytime soon, but it was interesting to hear him hear what he had to say. Now, what do you have for picks for your ARCA stuff there at Talladega? I know you're going to be at the track this weekend. You'll be the only representative of Kicking the Tires that was able to make it.
Kind of speaking on this weekend, I've got a lot of people circled. We saw a lot of contenders that we didn't really expect to see at Daytona. And I really feel like those same cream of the crop will rise to the top. I'm personally picking the Christiansburg. Christian is picking the Christiansburg. Virginia native Derek Lancaster. I don't know. I just kind of got a little hunch that number 29 team will go to victory lane for the first time ever in ARCA. But you certainly have to look at Ty Gibbs and Corey Heim. Their championship battle will take to the high banks of Talladega International Speedway. And there's another one that we've been really looking at, and I just hot off the press, literally not an hour ago, reported that Kyle Sieg, his organization RSS Racing, spoke with me before the podcast tonight and confirmed they do not have the funding to run a full-time schedule yet. And really hoping that a solid run this weekend at Talladega will help them get the funding they need to run the full schedule. So we're kind of hoping. I mean, I'd hate to see one of our championship contenders fall out, and that a win this weekend would be really big. And Kyle's improved in the two races he's ran this season. He finished 5th at Daytona and then 4th at Phoenix. And, we've also got a couple of others that I think really could capitalize on some big ones if we have any this weekend, because the ARCA race at Daytona and Talladega have kind of been bland. But, we really got to look back at Richard Garvey. He's ran in every ARCA Menard Series event this year, not just in the main ARCA Series, but he's ran in both races in the East, and he's ran in the only race we've had in the West. So, we got Richard Garvey. We've got a good 10 to 15 cars I feel like could go out and win, and I think it'll be all about track position in that last 10 miles of the 70-mile race that we've got this week.
I think there's some SRX news on a female driver going over and racing with Tony Stewart.
Yeah, nothing too crazy, just Haley Deegan and Ray Evernham teaming up, right? You probably have one of the biggest names coming up, not just as a female driver, but as a driver in general. I mean, we've got someone that's definitely making a huge name for herself, already etching herself into the Xfinity Series, running the Truck Series right now, and a former ARCA winner, but now going to team up with Ray Evernham to race in the SRX Series with Tony Stewart's new league starting up in June. So that's going to be huge. A lot of fans were freaking out about that when they saw both her and Ray together, and then Ray retweeted it to confirm it. So he's really excited to be able to lead out to her. In fact, his own words, it's happening. Really excited to watch Haley Deegan race with us. This girl can gas it up, dirt or pavement. So pretty exciting to see that there.
And just looking at the SRX schedule real quick, based on the truck schedule, which she's running full time, I believe Stafford and Eldora would not be possibilities for Haley because they're the same day as truck races.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there were a couple conflicts with that. So most likely going to be part-time for Haley in SRX, because I don't think she's going to quite give up the truck rides. But who knows? Maybe she...
Tony's got a jet.
I was going to say, maybe she might be able to sneak it out like I think 600 and Indy 500 weekend, right?
I think Stafford is the same time as the truck race in, I think it's Nashville. Okay. So that one might not be doable.
Well, there you have it. But still, that's big news to have Haley joining up, even if it's part-time, with the SRX program that Tony has started up. Justin, any Supercross news happening right now?
Yeah, we got quite a bit here. Let me go ahead and pull up those notes, because we had pretty wild series of events out in Atlanta. Nate Thrasher, who got his first career win in Atlanta 1, backs it up and gets another in Atlanta 3. So he goes 2 for 3 out there. Justin Cooper going to take the points lead there for the for their 250 division as they get ready to close out the year. But probably the biggest story out of all with the 250 class is Cameron McAdoo. I know last week we talked about his big crash going into the bridge jump, but my goodness, he had another pretty nasty fall in the whoops, and then another slip through one of the double triple sections. So he had quite the beating at Atlanta and still came home with a podium finish, and then out there on Atlanta 3 almost came back with another top 10 finish. So not really sure. You can check it out on Kicking the Tires. We shared the press release from Supercross, and you can check out that where they had a time to share a bit of his story out at Atlanta. But I'll tell you what, that's not hard. That's not easy to be able to make a comeback like he did through all those crashes and crazy mishaps. But hey, the medical crew proved that he was capable of being able to compete still. So he got back on his bike and finished all those races. So huge for him, huge stuff there. As for 450, a lot of big stuff happening there with the championship, obviously, and the three main contenders with Eli Tomac, Ken Roczen, and Cooper Webb. They actually all split the races, all three of them winning. In fact, I have an article up from yesterday that I'd worked on showcasing the rookies, talking about Dylan Ferrandis and Chase Sexton, which I'll get to in a second here. But I want to share, here's some stats from those three riders. So like I said, each of the three ended up winning one of the three races. They each collected 63, 64, and 65 points in total each. So pretty much the same point total across the board. All three riders ended up with 2 podium finishes. And like I said, they split the 3 Atlanta races. So right now, Cooper Webb holds on to a 16-point gap over Ken Roczen with their final 2 races coming up first this Saturday in Salt Lake City. And then next weekend, the finale also in Salt Lake City. But like I said, I wanted to point out 2 of the rookies, Dylan Ferrandis and Chase Sexton. They've been putting on quite a show, and I think this would have been a really tight Rookie of the Year battle had it not been for Chase Sexton getting that injury out in Houston too. But Chase Sexton getting a couple podium finishes in Atlanta. It was really one of his best performances aside from Houston too, when he was leading for the first third of the race or so until his injury-ridden crash that knocked him out for 6 rounds. But not only that, but he got his first career runner-up finish in Atlanta and then backed it right up with another second place finish right behind Ken Roczen after Eli Tomac took the first win and then finished out with another top 10 out in Atlanta. So and then Dylan Ferrandis, if you don't remember from last year, he had a lot of controversial moments in the 250 class where he ended up even winning one race out at San Diego, and instead of a bunch of cheers, he was met with a lot of boos from the fans out in San Diego. Obviously, all that happening before the pandemic. But this year, he's put on a much different hat. He wants to stay as aggressive, but he's decided to put on the learning hat, try to approach it much more humbly. And I think that's really made a huge difference for him because his performance overall has stayed a lot more consistently, especially when the tracks are more in his favor. He's been a lot more consistent, and I think that's going to pay off for him a lot more in the long run. So looks like he's going to be Rookie of the Year unless anything drastic happens here, because he's got a pretty sizable lead over Chase Sexton. But it looks like Rookie of the Year is going to favor him with these last 2 races coming up.
Excellent. I did not forget you, Seth. I want to circle back around and have you give us a recap of the iRacing. And I was going to do it. I almost cut Justin off because talking about wrecks and stuff. And, I know that there were some of those.
Yeah, in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series last night, there were their fair share of wrecks. James Davison dominated the race, leading 61 of the 70 laps, but he didn't lead the most important one. Brad Keselowski won and it was his first time on iRacing since the Pro Invitational race at, I think it was North Wilkesboro last year. So he has not been on it in about 6 or 7 months. He actually had to get TJ Majors to come over to his shop to install it, download all the updates, the paint schemes, the whole 9 yards, and set it up for him.
And NASCAR said that he was eligible to run now.
He was eligible to run, but he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. The NASCAR on Fox, they had 3 promoters invites, and there was a fan vote. Winning the fan vote was U.S. Navy reservist, Lieutenant Commander, I believe that's his rank. I think I got it right. Jesse Woodgee. Then you had Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Boyer, and Keelan Harvick.
Keelan Harvick ran?
Keelan
I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
Is that what all the hype was about?
Yes.
Okay, because I saw Keelan like trending on Twitter, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yes, Keelan Harvick was invited to compete by NASCAR on Fox. He drove the virtual number 62 Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang. He was, for a while, fastest in practice. He opted not to qualify, started 38th, worked his way up through the field into the top 15 before a wreck between Ross Chastain and Joey Gase sent him spinning on the pit road mid-race.
So what you're telling me is professional Cup Series drivers wrecked out and took out a 7-year-old.
An 8-year-old.
8-year-old.
Yes.
Okay.
An 8-year-old, mind you, who's racing with one arm because he is in a cast after an accident jumping from his swing in the backyard.
An 8-year-old, a one-armed 8-year-old raced his way through the pack and was hitting top 15 and gets taken out by 2 professional NASCAR Cup Series drivers.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't even write a joke that could, and I'm sorry. Look, those two, everybody that's from 15th back that Keelan Harvick passed, just go.
One of them
y'all
was
race
his
worse
dad.
than me.
One of them was his dad.
I was gonna say Jennifer Jo Cobb can say that she didn't get passed, right?
Well, they check their eligibility.
Well, I will say this. One of the reasons why he was trending is it actually goes against iRacing's terms of service because their minimum age to compete on iRacing is 13.
Yeah, well, dad is Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, and NASCAR on Fox wanted it.
And it's NASCAR on Fox's race. Yeah.
But
okay, there are exceptions to every rule. They're called gray area.
Yes. But one of the people he did pass was Kevin Harvick.
Oh, wow.
And pre-race,
awesome.
Kevin made a bet with Keelan. If Keelan beat him, Keelan would have the day off of school and get ice cream.
Well, guess what?
Kevin finished 13th. Keelan ended up 38th after getting wrecked.
That's not right. I mean, did he not have a quick repair?
He had 2, but the problem is when he spun on the pit road, he got a black flag for an unsafe pit entry.
They should have waived that.
They would have if he had mentioned it before entering his pit stall. So, in part,
he's 8 and with one arm.
Well, the thing is, I know, but it is what.
And he's got 2, but one's broken.
Yeah. But Joey Logano had one massive wreck. When spinning,
what's
like
new? He had one at Talladega, at Daytona too.
Yeah. He and Kyle Larson flipped in the same wreck, and then there was a massive wreck on the final lap behind the leaders. That Chase Briscoe, NASCAR tweeted a replay of it from Chase Briscoe's onboard. Went through the wreck like Days of Thunder, passing Anthony Alfredo's flipped car. Multiple wrecked cars, destroyed cars, got through the wreck, took the checkered flag, no incidents. Then Cole Custer turned right into him after the start-finish line.
Yeah, but he took the checkered flag, so that's all that matters.
But he was a lap down, so he didn't gain any positions going through the wreck.
All right, well, as we wrap up the show and get to our Talladega predictions, Jerry, you always keep saying this, but you said this time you actually do have a guess. So why don't you tell us what you got?
All right, folks, Look, guys, I told y'all I would get a guest on the show, and I think my guest is top notch tonight. So I definitely get a check mark in the cool guest category. But the way this came about was through social media. Last night I'm tweeting, and because my wife doesn't know something on TV, the commercial comes on, and she's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is so good. This is so going on Twitter." So I tweet out tag team and DC Glenn. And guess what? They respond to my account. They reach out. They want to come on the show. Glenn is here with us. Glenn, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. I'm doing very, very good. Yeah, man. I'm up at cause I get up like 4 o'clock every morning. I don't know why. I used to be a vampire because I was DJ all my life. So I would go to sleep at 5, 6 o'clock. But now I guess I don't. The club was a fountain of youth. Soon, 2 weeks after I retired from DJing, I turned to an old dude. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's almost my bedtime now. But no, I was every day I get up and just scour the internet looking for Scoop There It Is videos and whatnot, and just do my due diligence on SEO and social media and things. And I saw your tweet and I was like, wait a minute, because I found out last night that we were grand marshals, right? Well, yesterday. Wow. And we knew about it, but we had to cut a video real quick, right? Because we thought it was going to be virtual. And I was like, I thought we were going to just have to ride down the road because I live in Atlanta. So that's nothing to get to Talladega. And they're like, we want to do it virtual. So you guys got to cut a video. So I went to a studio and had to get my people together, but it came out really good. And I think the race fans are going to love it. So I was like, let me reach out to this guy and just recognize that I see. And Jerry was like, hey man, you want to be on the show tonight? And I was like, the reason I didn't answer because I'm an actor and I do voiceover and I just do a ton of things. I've been doing interviews and auditions and voiceovers. Then I got to be on set tomorrow, and then it just never stops. And I didn't want to promise something and then you be looking crazy to all your boys. So I was like, I had to make sure I can be on tonight. Then when you just hit me, it's like, I got you, dude. So Jerry's the coolest. Gonna say it, everybody.
All right, yeah, awesome. They're gonna eat they're gonna eat those words there. I will use those in a promo, Glenn. I promise you. But
Jerry is cool. Jerry is cool.
We're gonna hear that for the next 5 to 10 episodes. So when it dies down, he's gonna be reaching out to you to ask you to jump back on. So I'll start with one of the first questions. But how did you get involved in NASCAR? Have you been watching races before and stuff like that, or is this going to be one of your first races you've really been into or been involved with?
I've been watching NASCAR all my life, right? And I mean, I've been in Atlanta for 30 years, so kind of can't miss it, right? And it varies in degrees of what I watch and what I don't watch. Usually, I'm not a novice, so I'll watch a little bit of a race and then switch to something else. But when it's deep and when championships are on the line, and my favorite driver used to be Jeff Gordon. So, and I understand Jeff Gordon is Jeff Gordon, but I used to like him. I'm sorry. And whenever he would race, I would watch the race, right? And then it just kind of faded because it depends on how busy I am or what other sports are on or whatnot. So I understand it, and I do like it. I just haven't watched it in a while. It's kind of hard to watch. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say it's kind of hard to watch any sports unless they get to the playoffs, because it's hard to watch with no fans. But you adapt to it and you just keep it moving. So hopefully they'll let a lot of fans in. What have you heard? Are they gonna let 2,000, 5,000? Or are they just letting it rip?
Oh, it'll
30% capacity.
30%
capacity this weekend.
30? Okay.
Yeah, so
hey,
you're looking at probably 40,000 people. 40.
Oh, that's perfect.
40, 50,000. Yeah,
perfect.
So it'll be a good amount. Now for these youngsters here, they know you from the Geico commercials. That sprinkles and scoop. There it is. But I know you back from the 90s and stuff from tag team. So explain to them the group and how how all this came about to where you guys got picked for the Geico commercial. It's probably one of the most famous ones out there.
I mean, it's just a culmination of everything, man. We were kids when we made Whoomp, and It was, everybody thinks it was this big Manhattan project, and there was geometry and theorems, and it was just a song about us partying on a Saturday night, right? It was so simple. Like it was just a record, and it just happened to blow up, and we've been able to eat off a record that is evergreen now for 28 years. And I do a lot of other things as well, because I've been DJing forever, and I do SEO. I'm a licensed commodities broker. I act, and I do voiceover. I just do a whole bunch of things, right? And I do them well. And the SEO part of it, 2011, I got a call that Barack Obama was in our video, our music video, and the whole world was going crazy. And it was like, he's not, y'all should know he's not in our video, but people actually believe Barack Obama, young Barry, was in our video. And that whole week we did press like crazy. And I was asking the reporters, how did you find me? And it was like, it was real hard to find you. And that's what started my SEO career, because I missed out on a lot of money because of that opportunity. Because when you get press like that, you need to be found. And I wasn't being found. So that's when I started my search engine optimization, learning Google, learning websites, the whole nine. 10 years ago, you type in tag team, it's all wrestling. Now you type in tag team, it's all tag team. So fast forward, I get a call from my agent for acting. They're like, you booked a Geico commercial. And I was like, don't play with me. I didn't even audition for a Geico commercial. They're like, DC, you booked a Geico commercial. I'm like, okay. It's like they said they want a tag team. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay. So what happened? They called my phone. And then that's on the website. And then I didn't answer the phone. I never answered that phone. But they found my IMDb because I'm an actor. And then they called my agent. And it just worked real synergistically, and we made the deal. And it was probably one of the most lucrative deals I've ever made. And then we got to work. And I wanted to, it was cool because I got to work on my acting chops. And I wanted to make a spinning scoop. I was like, I want to make this great. I know kids love sprinkles. I don't know why they love sprinkles, but I know they love sprinkles. So I did a Salt Bae, and I did the LeBron James going to the scorer's table with the sprinkles. Just all kind of, just like have 5 or 6 things in my pocket that I could go to the, director and say, hey, I got some ideas. And we had our production meeting, and the director's like, you can do whatever you want to do. You guys are tag team. And I was like, cool. I was like, well, I wanted to have a spin scoop, but he was like, I was like, I couldn't find nobody to make it right. And he was like, it'll be done tomorrow. And it was. And that's where the spin and scoop came from, the sprinkles and all those things. Those are the things that make, the little nuances that make that commercial great. And then, usually if you have a Geico commercial, you go on tour, but we're in a pandemic. So, Salt and Pepper did theirs 2014. They toured till the pandemic. So I just said, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take these lemons and make me a lemonade corporation and franchise it and then sell it for $1 billion. That's my mindset. And I just didn't quit. I said, well, let me blow this thing up. Let me blow me up. And I tried to hire a publicist, and they were like, nah, we don't know what to do with you. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay. And then I always do this when I get stuck on something. I join an organization, because organizations are filled with professionals that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And that's what they're there for, to help you. People don't know that. But I joined an organization, Public Relations Society of America, jump on a Zoom call 2 days later, and this big CEO of this PR firm is there. And, I raised my hand. I say, our press release is relevant. And she said, well, what's it for? I'm like, I'm kind of featured in this Geico commercial called Scoop. There it is. And I'm looking at the chat, and it's like, no, that can't be him. Is it? What? That's my favorite commercial. That's my favorite commercial. Oh my God, I love that. My kids love that commercial. And I basically blew up the Zoom, man. And she was like, so is that a press release is relevant? And she was like, yes, because the whole last year has been doom and gloom with COVID, right? And for you guys to come with a good story, feel good story to make everybody smile, enjoy it, and throw sprinkles everywhere. Kids is, getting in trouble because they throwing sprinkles everywhere and eating all the ice cream. That's a good story. And I dropped that press release the Wednesday before the Super Bowl. And the next day I got a call from the Dan Patrick Show, and they were like, we want you on the show. And it was like, can we do it Monday? He's like, no, we want you on the show before the Super Bowl. And I was like, okay. And then Friday we're on the Dan Patrick Show talking about strip clubs, right? And you know, when I was on that Zoom call, the lady not only told me press releases were relevant, but she was like, you want to do this to get in front of all your journalists. You want to do this to get in front of all the podcasts, this to get in front of all the TV talk show hosts, and make sure your pitches. She gave me the whole game in 10 minutes, and I haven't looked back. And it's opened doors for me that I could have never thought possible. So that's why I'm so busy. And I'm like, I mean, it's really kind of why we're talking now, because I get up every day, you know, looking for opportunities because they keep hitting me in the head. And I just try to, you know, I try to do the best I can to just keep moving forward, keep staying positive, and keep making this money, right? And having a good time while I'm doing it, and just talk to people as much as I can and give my wisdom and my knowledge, because it's the exact thing I wish somebody had did to me when I was a young man. Maybe I wouldn't have done some of the stupid things I've done, right? But you got to go through that, and it was fun going through that. So I'm not crying over spilt milk, but I've truly been blessed, and I'm having a good time. And you know, this came out of the blue from nowhere. They're like, we want you to be the Grand Marshals, and I was like, okay, right? But then, you know, I know that's a big deal, right? And then the way I think everybody's gonna be real happy the way we did it, because we did it. I think we did it totally different, and it's gonna be powerful and energetic. And you know, this is gonna lead to. I mean, we basically work for Geico now. I'm telling you, it's like that, and it's like everything they put their name on, we're gonna end up doing something for them. So you hear that, Geico? So I mean, yeah, I mean, and people are upset that commercial went off the air, and I'm like, couldn't play it forever. You know what I mean? Like, how long do you think it was going to? We want that commercial. It's just like, calm down. It'll be back, maybe. You know how Geico does. So, yeah. And then for me, it's just about, you know, the pandemic changed everything for me. So it's just about just grinding and getting better, because 2020 been one of the best years of my life. I shot 2 movies, 2 television shows, tons of voiceover. And I got 4 things right now I would love to talk to y'all about, but I had to sign non-disclosure agreements. So this is definitely unexpected, second act, and you're never too old, man. You're never too old. I feel like a kid again. My knees don't, but I do.
I want to pitch this to Zach, because I know he's got a question, but I want to tell you a little bit about him. You can Google him on IMDb, because he's also an actor. Zach Tanzarelli, he's got a pretty good list going. So maybe you guys can hook up and you can give him some advice. But I know he
knows what I'm going through. You know, I almost 200 auditions, right? But
well, yeah, I'm a background actor, so you'll be in the foreground doing your thing, and I'll be in the background, kind of being your hype man, I guess.
That's kind of how I got started acting. I got started acting 3 years ago, because I got signed to a People Store in Atlanta for a voiceover. And I was like, man, can I just, you know, I kind of just want to play around and do some, you know, extra stuff. And they're like, we don't do that. I was like, okay, calm down. It's like, and then the owner came in, she was like, I love your face, put them on camera. And then I was like, okay. And then, you know how hard it is to get an agent. So I had an agent instantly and got thrown into acting. And then after I took my first couple of acting classes, I was like, oh yeah, I get to be a kid again. And I was in class every day, sometimes 2, 3, 4 classes a day until the pandemic hit. And just before the pandemic hit, I booked my first Pizza Hut national commercial for March Madness. And then the pandemic hit, and it was like, nope, we're not doing it. It was like, oh. But I was happy because I booked. It wasn't even about the money. They picked me, right? And sometimes that's way more important, because that was the first big one I had, especially after just 3 years. So I'm happy, man. Everything is going good, and I can't complain. And I just try to be positive and just give people my hustle, and just let everybody know that anything you want to do, it can be done. You have to have a different mindset.
Yeah, it's great to hear that just one commercial spot can literally reignite an entire career. I know when it came to that song, obviously everyone hears it in that commercial now, but I mean, I knew it from the Elf movie back in 2003 when Will Ferrell was danced to it. I know it's been in numerous movies since then. But has that song or any of your work ever come up and you listened to it and it kind of either surprised you or made you go like, oh, wow, that was really cool that they put it in there?
No, it pissed me off. That's how Will Ferrell happened. I mean, how Elf happened. I'm sitting in the movie theater and I'm like, oh, this is a pretty good movie. And come to the middle scene, I'm like, Will Ferrell's dancing on the table. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh, that's a surprise.
Because we were in like a 20-year lawsuit, right? You know, I was young and signed a bad contract like everybody else. And my situation was different because then one company went bankrupt. The other company bought it out of bankruptcy, but wasn't supposed to take something. Then it was a battle and we were in the middle. It went on for 20 years. We didn't get it resolved to 2017, but we prevailed, right? But it was like war. I lost a leg, an arm. I got an eye patch. I was tore up, but I'm still breathing, right? So I had a new lease, and it just, the music thing, we were never going to make anything bigger than Whoop There It Is, period. Just like there'll never be a bigger commercial than the Geico commercial. We make something bigger than the Geico commercial, then whatever it is, I need to put it in a bottle and sell it because, lightning does, you can strike twice, but 3 times, man. But I mean, I expect to have big things in the future. But I'm not going to keep trying to make a bigger record and a bigger commercial. Those are things that are kind of etched in stone, and I'll be remembered forever for it. So it definitely worked out. It definitely worked out. But every time I used to hear it in a commercial, or my phone would start ringing. Hey, you guys were in such and such. You were guys in such and such. Did y'all get paid? Yeah, we got paid. Shut up. Right? It was just constantly the same question. And it's like, we got paid, but we didn't get what we were supposed to get paid. Right. And but I never cried over spilt milk. And I realized that I had, the Elf movie made me realize that I had an evergreen record. I had a hit record forever, right? So it was up to me and my hustle to get my money, however I could get it. And that's why I am like I am, all motivational speaker, positive, hustling, trying to figure things out all the time. I've been doing it all my life, and it's just served me so well because it has helped me in situations where other people would have quit, just because of just the situation they're in, and I just don't quit. I don't,
right.
Because there's always a solution. It could be far-fetched, but if you work your way back from a far-fetched solution to meet yourself halfway, that's the solution, right? So you just have to think differently. I think differently. That's why they call me DC the Brain Supreme. They've been, since I was young, they're like, you just always figuring stuff out. I was like, can't help it. But
it's so hard with the music industry, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. I mean, about like Spotify, and I've heard a lot of stories about that. Mm-hmm. Same with you, I guess.
I think they get it worse. They got it worse today. Because at least we've always been able to keep our show money. Any money outside of what the record makes for the record company, we used to keep everything, but they take everything these days.
Yeah.
Because there is no record there is no physical, 4 million physical pieces of records, right? We don't sell like 7 million records overall. And that doesn't happen anymore. The physical vinyl and cassette and disc, it's all in the air. So that could be manipulated so bad. And then these artists sign these deals, and artists always ask me, put me in the game, let me do this, let me do that. And I try to help them. I'm like, here's a folder, give me an email, I'll give you a folder, and read that book or look at that video and call me. I'm not gonna give you the whole game, I'm gonna give you one piece just to see if you're gonna do it. And 98% of people don't call me back because they want to be stars. Everybody wants it now, right? And in that folder is a book on music publishing. And music publishing in the music industry is everything, because if you're on your publishing, you can have a mediocre record and make money off of it forever. So it's like, I'm giving them the keys to the kingdom so they'll never be taken advantage of. I'm giving them the back end first. The front end's easy. The cars, the women, the money, all that's easy. But you've seen everybody rise and fall. You get hot and then you're not. And a lot of people can't handle that when they drop, and then they get mad at their record company, then they try to sue, and then record company got long money. We got short money, right? And people just fall by the wayside. And the music industry is littered with people who've had a hit record or a hit album. And you never hear from them again because they had bad deals and they couldn't sustain it. So It's tragic, but I take full responsibility. I'm a grown man. I made mistakes, and beauty of life is that you don't have to live with those mistakes. You can go back and correct those mistakes. And that's what I'm doing now. And I vowed that I will not leave this earth regretting that I didn't do something or try something. So
Yeah.
I don't even have a bucket list. I think I got like 2 things on my bucket list. And I really tried, right? But I've done a lot, and I'm a simple person, and I've done everything. I just want a couple more things, and I'm happy. I worked in a strip club for 30 years. What more do I need? I was liberated as a man after the first year, right? And that's why I am, because I mean that's what drives men, right? That's what drives us, especially as young men. But when you're around 150 beautiful butt naked women every day, you get kind of immune. And I just got kind of immune. You know, I do my thing, but it's not the most important thing in the world like it is to a lot of people, right? And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I worked regular clubs, I worked traveled, I did all kind of stuff. And then I've been all over the world performing. So it's like, what more can be done, right? What more can be done on that front? And we went to Rio de Janeiro. Woo, boy.
Nice.
That's the most incredible place on earth. It's the poorest place on earth, but it's the most incredible women you ever see in your life. Let me stop talking about that.
Well,
all y'all wives listening is like, I liked him till he did that. So
Yeah,
It's okay. They'll understand. They'll understand.
As Jerry said,
here,
we're all young over here, so
Yeah.
Well, here I'll date myself. I remember whoop there it is from D2 the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Now, was it easy or difficult to rework the lyrics for the Geico commercial?
No, because it's just one line. Actually, it was soup, there it is. The first iteration was soup, there it is. And I was like, man, how am I going to prepare for that? I'm looking at Jerry Seinfeld's Soup Nazi issue. I'm like, okay, let me think if I can. And it's like, no, we're gonna do ice cream. I was like, cool, because my father used to make ice cream for us, and he would do the eggs and the milk and the vanilla and the sugar. And we had that old school crank, right? That old ice cream churn where you put it in the silver cylinder and then the ice around with the salt rock. My brother do 5 minutes and I do 5 minutes, and 20 minutes, 2 kids eating ice cream. And I wanted to bring that essence to the commercial, and that's what it does for kids. Things I can even explain. I get videos every day of people sending me their children, babies, and that commercial comes on. They're playing with their blocks, and that commercial comes on, they look up, and they can't even walk or talk, and they fight tooth and nail to get up on their feet and get to the TV, booty shaking the whole time. Don't even know why. And I can't explain that. I can't explain it at all. I can't explain why. All I hear is people saying, man, my 90-year-old daddy loves you guys. And I'm like, how's that even possible? Right? Like what, but something about it. I think it's just the fact that we had a ball that day. That was so much. We had so much fun, and it showed. And that's how we used to party back then. It was about dancing, having fun, just whatever. Now everything is kind of serious. I think people forgot how to dance. It's just not, just that nostalgia of the good old days, I guess. I don't know what it is, man. I just know I'm glad I got a good commercial that, people gonna remember. And that right now I'm campaigning for all the awards, Clio awards, all that stuff. Cause I mean, that's what you got to do. I'm about to milk every single piece of juice out of this thing that I can, man, because that's what that is there for me. And just be ready. Just prepare myself for all the opportunities that come my way.
But it kind of sucks that y'all are doing Talladega virtually, because Talladega is a party track.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I understand what Talladega is.
When all this is
right?
over with, I want you to come back and be our guest at Talladega. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know, I know that. I just know Alabama, right? And I just know that I know that there's just lines and lines and lines and lines and lines of people when it comes to that. You want to avoid that area at all costs. Just like Atlanta Speedway gets like that when they do their big race. But Talladega's the one. Talladega, Daytona, and a couple other ones. You just know that those are going to just be wall to wall. And I'm just glad to be a part of it, man. I think it's cool because they out there like, we're gonna give you guys a ride around the track, so we get to get in a Geico car and drive around the track and all kind of stuff at a later date. But they hooking us up, so this is like once in a lifetime things. People don't get to do these things often, so I'm glad we did it, and it was all good.
We need to get with you on some of that SEO stuff and help out Kicking the Tires, and we may have a good relationship forming here.
Yeah, man. I'm. It took me 10 years, man. It was hard. It was brutal, right? Because it's a moving target, right?
For sure.
And I'm still like right now. I know right now I'm building a post about this event, right? And I'm trying to rank it in 2 days just to see if it'll rank. I'm trying to rank it on Talladega or Geico 500, or if I pull that off, come on, man. You know how many people are going to be typing in those searches this weekend? And then all those eyes are right on Tag Team, and they go right back to the site. And then there's more emails. That's just more people who are knowing about Tag Team. That's what you have to do. You got to be found. I mean, it's amazing. I'm getting so many requests to do shout outs, and Cameo is begging me. They're like, DC, you could be making so much money. I said, no, I'm doing PR now. I got too much going on, and you can't do everything. Or something like, I understand that I can make money, but what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make money $300,000, $500,000 chunks at a time. So thank you, but I'll do Cameo when I get to it, right? Because I don't want to spend my whole day doing shouts out to people. I don't mind, but I got to do auditions all day. You know what I mean? It's like I got so many different things to do that you can't spread yourself thin, right? Especially for just, for money. You have to stay focused and know what you want. And I know what I want, and I want to master or have some type of mastery over acting and voiceover, because that's all I want. Then I'm like, I've done the rap thing, I've done the acting thing, I've done the voiceover thing. I want to be in Star Wars or The Mandalorian, right? Every interview I do, I'm like, Dave Leone, Jon Favreau, y'all need to come get me. Y'all missing out. I'm trying to tell you, live action or animation, come get me. And just got to throw it out in the universe. Now, that's far-fetched, but somebody might be listening to y'all's podcast, be like, hey, man, assistant or something, like, the guy from Geico commercial, he shouted you out. He wants to be in, set up a meeting with his agent. My kids love that commercial. That's how it happens, though. That's how it happens. Just little things like that. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I don't act like it's a quid pro quo. I do that and keep doing that, then this is going to happen. I just play offense. I just keep shooting.
Well, you don't have to do anything for us because you already gave me the shout out. You said I was cool. I'm good. We got that promo. It's cut. it's sealed. It's there.
Oh God, DC, what do you do?
That's funny. But hey, man, y'all have me here all night, man. I gotta go to sleep, man.
I'll let you go. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on. I know the guys do.
Yes.
And we got some that couldn't make it on the show tonight. But man, thank you for your time. Have a great time at Talladega when you get there. And I can't wait to see what you guys cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I hope it is. I hope everybody like, what the heck is that? Yeah, but I'm sure they wouldn't have approved it if they didn't like it. So it's all good. All right. But hey, man, you gentlemen stay safe. And I really appreciate y'all for letting me sit here and run my mouth for a little while. I get better when I run my mouth, because even if we just talking, I'm figuring things out and I'm being a better man than I was yesterday. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Y'all take care.
See, you guys, y'all don't need to doubt me. I'm cool. Cecil Glenn just said, I'm cool. DC Glenn from Tag Team said I was cool. That is our promo for life. Just want y'all to know, I told you when I bring on a guest, it's pretty darn awesome. Tag Team going to be the grand marshals for the race this weekend, at Cup Series race at Talladega Superspeedway. Let's move into our predictions. Who's going to win what? Seth, go.
Well, for the Cup Series, it's Talladega. Just about anyone can win. So I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace for the Cup Series. And for the Xfinity Series, I'm going to go with Brett Moffitt. Again, it's Talladega. It basically, as long as you can avoid the big one, you have a chance.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Jeb Burton for the Xfinity race. He was leading on the last lap of this race last year, and he ended up third. He ran great at Daytona last year. He finished in the top 5 at Daytona this year. So I think him with that colleague equipment, it's going to be perfect. He's got a few teammates that are always incredible there. Justin Haley, one of them. So I'm going to go with Jeb. And then for the Cup Series, going to go with Eric Almirola. He's a Talladega winner in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series as well. He nearly won a truck race at Talladega too, which would have made him one of the very few, if not the only one, to win there in all 3 series. So he's just one of those natural talents at that place. And he was taken out early in the 500 this year. I think he was running second, so we never got to see that work out. But 8 of the last 9 Talladega races in the top 10. I mean, you literally can't beat that. So I'm going to go with Jeb Burton for Xfinity and then Eric Almirola for the Cup Series.
Justin, what do you got?
Well, I think Justin Haley is going to keep his Talladega streak on. If you don't remember last year, he swept both Talladega races. So I think Justin Haley is going to make it 3 in a row, and he's going to be the next Xfinity Talladega king out there. So he's going to take the win for his team. And for Cup racing, you know, who would have thought at this point of the year that Chase Elliott would be the last Hendrick driver to get a win or have the other 3 get a win before Chase Elliott. So, you know what? I think Chase Elliott's going to finish that whole sweep for Hendrick Motorsports and give them their 4th win of the year by winning at Talladega.
Christian?
So for ARCA, I already said I was picking Derek Lancaster. Really feel like he's going to win this weekend. For Xfinity, I'm kind of looking into the book from last year like Justin's doing, but I'm looking at the 2nd place finisher from last fall. Really feel like Ryan Sieg with Ford Performance is going to be something that's going to be able to be beat or isn't going to be able to be beat at Talladega. And then for Sunday's race, you know, he's done it before. He's finally been able to finish the deal. I think he'll go back-to-back on the super speedways, and I'm picking Michael McDowell to win Sunday's race at Talladega.
It's actually a pretty good pick there with Michael McDowell. The Front Row Motorsports folks are fast, and they learn some stuff. But I don't know if he can overcome my guy. But I'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to pick Ty Gibbs for or can I pick? Is Ty in this race?
The ARCA or Xfinity?
He's in ARCA.
He's in
the
ARCA.
ARCA.
Yeah, ARCA. So I'm going to pick Ty Gibbs for the ARCA race.
20 times the winner, the pole winner at Talladega has won the pole.
These other guys didn't pick an ARCA, but I'm gonna pick Ty for the ARCA race.
It's a good one.
And I'm gonna pick Noah Gragson for the Xfinity race. Okay, probably a bold pick on my part right there, but my real bold pick, the guy who just has he's snake bit and deserves to win. Martin Truex Jr. for the Cup Series win at Talladega Superspeedway. Because he's had horrible luck there. I'm sure Seth could pull up the stats in general.
The only kind of track he hasn't won at is a Superspeedway. And
it doesn't matter which one it is, he never does well. But I think this could be the week that he could get his 3rd win of the year. How cool would that be for Martin Truex Jr.?
And the only guy to have multiple wins.
Exactly. And so those are my picks. Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, Martin Truex Jr. And we'll see. I'm going to put some money on it. How about that?
There we go. How much though?
Not much, but if I win, I'll give it to y'all.
Okay, great.
So your payday's coming up. That's a good thing.
Payday.
Yeah. What's that?
Seth's like, show me the money. Swoop,
comment.
there it is.
Sprinkles.
He's gonna get all the ice cream that he wants.
There you go. Hey, it was so cool. I'm so pumped that the DC Glenn, Cecil Glenn from Tag Team came on the show, and we're gonna hook back up with him. And told y'all, I'll never let you down. I'll never let you down. I promise. Thanks for you guys sticking it out. I know it's been a long show, and appreciate y'all making it happen. And thanks for everything you do for Kicking the Tires. That's going to do it here for us this week. We'll see you after Talladega.